everyone. Welcome to another interview on the Well-Attended Summit. I'm your host, William Rader, and today we're hanging with David Serero, who is a singer, actor, producer, and recording artist. At 37, he has performed in more than 1,500 concerts and shows, and is in more than 100 films and TV series. He was most recently in Mysteries at the Museum on the Travel Channel, and Crimes of Fashion, and Pandora's Box on Discovery. He produces theater, opera, musicals, music and film festivals, and has his own record label. He is also a marketing consultant and works around the world. You might have last heard him on episode 17 on the Well-Attended podcast, where he talked about maximizing revenue with the past, present, and future marketing strategy. Hey, David, thank you so much for joining us today on the Well-Attended Summit.
Thank you so much, William. I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you for having me. And I want you to know I'm a huge fan of all the wonderful things that you're doing. And I'm very, very honored to be with you today.
Now, before we start this, what I'd really like to know is what have you been up to? It's been about a year and a half now since you were last on the episodes on the podcast. What have you been up to, and what have you kind of achieved over the past 2 years?
Well, thank you for asking. Well, I've done a lot of movies, TV series, and commercials. I've also created new shows that are working very well in New York, especially developed the dinner theater style in New York. There is a very good audience for that. I just finished a great season of theater in New York, where I did some productions such as The Jew of Malta by Christopher Marlowe, and also the Yiddish King Lear by Jacob Gordon, which was a revival, and also did Cyrano de Bergerac off Broadway, which was tremendous success, and the opera Don Giovanni, plus a lot of shows, produced a film festival, and also a music festival that I created in New York. So it's been very exciting, and didn't do any recording, but the summer is my favorite time for recordings usually.
And near the end of this interview, I think we're going to be talking about more about how you are producing those shows. But to start this off, I really would like to know, what is your definition of success?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, in the old days, success was when you were on national TV, when you had an article or you did the cover of a magazine, that was, oh, I made it, Nowadays, it doesn't mean anything. You can be on national TV, you can have 5 million views on YouTube, and still not able to pay your rent. So nowadays, what I define as success is that I am working all year long in my passion. With my craft. I am lucky to be on stage almost every day. I am lucky to meet amazing people and work with great people, and I'm not hiding in the streets like, oh, I hope I'm not going to see that one or that one. I'm always very, very happy, and people are happy, I believe, to see me, because I've been working with a lot of the same, almost all the people I work with are calling me and recommending me, and that's, I think, for me, the definition of success is to be able to express your art and also to make a living in what you love, especially in the entertainment industry.
So you are an opera singer and you produce a lot of shows, but we were talking earlier, and I don't think that was the path that you were originally on. So I'm kind of curious, how did you get started, and how did you transition kind of over to the entertainment business?
Oh, well, originally I was producing music. I was writing my own music, and for me, it was like a 360 degrees. Like I was never thinking of being a singer, thinking of being a pianist, but more a singer who is writing his own music and producing it. That was when I was like from being a teenager to almost like 19 years old, 20 years old. And then I discovered theater. And because I was singing, people told me, oh, you should check out musicals. And as I was checking musicals, people told me, oh, you have a voice for opera. So this is after I started opera. And then I've always been very creative. Like I love to create. And then I'm not going to say I was bored just to sing opera, but I wanted to do things. And also in opera, you're not necessarily working all the time. Like you have productions there and there, you have some concerts there and there, but you're not working on an everyday basis. And I love to work. I mean, you're working on your voice, of course, but I love to work every day. Like if I don't have 300 emails per day, if I don't make 20 phone calls, if I do any meetings, I think, oh my God, that's the end of my life. What am I going to do? I'm going to be in the streets tomorrow. I mean, this is how I am always, always worried, but it's really the extension of performing for me to produce, because the reason why I perform is because I love people and I want to express through singing or through acting my love of people. But sometimes this love of people is also created by sitting with someone who, let's say, owns a venue, and we're like, okay, let's do stuff together. Let's work together. And what can we do? Okay, let's come and do a concert. Concert went so well. Okay, maybe let's do 2-3 concerts, and let me bring some other singers that I love to perform with. And I don't have to play the Russian roulette, to know when a producer will bring the one that I love to perform the piece that we love. So I can be, you can provoke sometimes destiny. And because I think that's what producing is about. Actually, it's a good definition. It's to provoke the destiny, which is, I'm proud of my phrase. It's instead of waiting that I would work with that one, that I would perform in that venue or do that piece. It's to make it happen, and that is actually like the transition, and I'm very, very happy about it, because it makes me happy as a singer, even twice, because when you're hired, this is so amazing to be hired. It's the greatest thing in the world, but when you are on stage and you're holding like your 10 colleagues in your hands for a bow, and the audience is giving a standing ovation and all of that, you're thinking, wow, I originated that. It's because one morning I woke up and I said, you know what, let's do that piece. And I went to the venue and I said, man, you have to let me come to your venue and do this. And to call these singers, these actors, and work, and then bring this and have this audience coming and having a good time for an hour and a half or 2 hours, whatever. It's really so fulfilling experience, really.
And that's really one of the reasons why I wanted you to be a guest here on the summit, is because we're always looking for people that take action and don't kind of sit on the wayside and wait for things to happen. And you definitely are a go-getter, which I think is why you've had a lot of the success that you've had, because you don't wait around. You're like, hey, I want to do this and nobody else is going to make this happen, so I'm going to go do it myself. And so I think that's a great character trait to have. I am kind of curious, kind of going back to your beginning, when you graduated from school, where were you living at the time? And then you came over to New York. Why did you decide to come over here? And then how did you kind of start your career?
Well, when I was, I always wanted to be an entertainer. That's for sure. Didn't know how it would translate to singing or to comedy or to, I had no idea, but I wanted to entertain people. That was for sure. So I started to sing, then moved to New York, because for me, New York was the city where, first of all, you have the greatest level, the highest level. I don't think you come to New York to make it, because if you want to make it, you go, it's a business thing, you're not going to open a bakery in Paris where you have amazing bakery at every corner. You're not going to open a deli in New York City in Midtown where you have a deli, two delis per corner, actually, So if you're smart, you go to a place where there are no delis, where there are no bakery store. So if I came to New York, it's because I believe there is the highest level of performers, and because I'm like crazy about being better and improving and delivering the best and things like that. I wanted to be where they are the best, and indeed I improved so much by being in New York. I became more sharp, faster, a lot of things like that, and I learned also a lot how to because in Europe or in France we kind of it's a French thing, it's a democratic thing to say always what you're thinking, but in New York you learn also how to be a businessman in a way, which is to keep your clients. Sometimes you don't tell them that they're hard to work with, things like that. So New York really teaches you a lot about that, and that's really a city that I'm very, very grateful.
Now, I understand whenever you decided to become a singer, you went to Russia to take classes and to work on your voice. And I'm just kind of curious, how did that really help jumpstart your career as an entertainer and as a performer?
Well, when I was living in New York and I was studying with teachers, opera teachers, I realized that all the Russians, they had something that I really admire, which was to involve yourself 100% in your craft, like nothing else, Like I really loved that, and I went first of all to St. Petersburg, not speaking a word of Russian, and pushing the doors there also. So to push the door in your native language is one thing, but in Russian it's another thing. And it was at a time, you have to understand that it's before Facebook, that it's before Google, that is, I mean, there was internet, but not like it is now, And I was coming with, if it was a woman with a bucket of flour, and say, hi, I'm a young singer, I'm a beginner, I'm a nobody, but I would love to study with you. And I was doing that for teachers, I had a teacher, I was going to their places, they lived like at the end of the world, and I was doing the dishes and cleaning the floor in the room so that they will give me, like 20 minutes of advices, So this is a craft that you learn.
Because you really wanted to learn how to be a better singer, you sacrificed your time, your ego, your anything that you had. You went over there and you just decided I'm going to meet the best of the best and try to study under them no matter how I can do it so I can be a better performer.
You can succeed as being a student. You can succeed when you are allowed to work with these teachers. First be a good student, and I wanted to already study with the best guys around. So yes, first I went at the Mariinsky Theater in St. Petersburg. They didn't take me. So right in front of it, there was the Conservatory of St. Petersburg, and I was there taken as a student. And then I took my phone one day and just went there and say, hi, these are chocolates, these are flowers. I'm a nobody, I'm zero, I would love to sing for you. I need your help. Do never be ashamed to ask for help. Do never be embarrassed to say, look, man, I suck. I need your help, really. Like sometimes, even now, I can email a journalist and say, look, sir, I really need your help. Like, it's the first time I work with that venue. If they don't have any article or anything, they're going to cancel the show, So please come to see the show. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But I would love you. I say, sure, man, I'm going to come, and they like it and they write about it. But there's nothing such as more touchy, and definitely no ego in, because you cannot have an ego in anything, because first of all, there is always better than you, and in this entertainment business, you need someone else. In any ways, you need a teacher when you start. Even if you're a producer, you need other people to work for you. You need a venue and you need an audience. So you cannot do anything by yourself.
So after you went to the schools and you learned from the Russians, why did you decide to come back to America?
Well, I didn't come back to America right away after the Russians. I went back to Europe. I stayed in Paris, and there I started to be hired by some opera productions company, small ones. But I did come back to America, it's true, but not to move there. I was going like for a month for production, then come back, then, um, then yes. And I always had this love affair with America that the audience loved me always there, and they, I mean, I always had this great affinity with them, and I'm so honored because for me they're really the greatest people around, but yeah, I was lucky to perform a little bit everywhere in the world, a lot of Eastern countries, and yeah, and then roles, and then after concerts, and it's really the concerts that became my biggest, that one made me known in a way, because I kind of changed the way we approach recitals, like concerts for classical music, and I turned them as basically one-man show, with doing comedy with the audience, but also talking to the audience, which was something in recital that you never had, like only at the end of the show, little thank you for coming. Nearly 15 years ago, at a time when if you were singing Mozart and let's say Puccini or Verdi in the same concert, people would think you're crazy, So I was already at that time singing Mozart and a Broadway musical and a Jewish melody and a Tzigane song and Besame Mucho and, even, I don't know, Lady Gaga or Michael Jackson, Billie Jean that I did as an opera version. And then I sit on the piano and play the jazz standard, and then do improvisation with the audience.
Now, something I'm really interested in, after you took schooling in Russia, how did you then get the operas and the theaters to then hire you for their shows, like in France or in the US?
I had just an aria, an opera song, basically, that I performed in the competition, and I sent a link of that I remember I spent a week writing to every single opera companies in the world. And I said, look, I'm ready to come for free. Any roles you have, anything, like literally, even to change the light bulbs, I want to learn, please, And there is only one opera company, which was in Harrisburg in Pennsylvania, who replied to me and said, look, I can offer you to be the understudy of it's like two operas who are played usually together in the same night. It's like two one-act opera, very well-known Cavaliera Rusticana and I Pagliacci. So to be the understudy of one of these one-act opera, So, but I cannot pay for your flight. I cannot pay for your food, for your hotel, for nothing. I said, that's fine. I was working in a place where I was serving food, So I'm fine. I do it. And it turned out that the guy who was supposed to do the role was not able to make it anymore. So they asked me, would you like to do the role since you're coming? I said, sure. And then it happened that the guy who was doing the lead male role of the second opera as a one act couldn't do it anymore. So they said, because usually it's the same guy who plays both, they said, would you like to do it also? I said, sure, I'd love to. I had the biggest one really that really helped me to get all the gig was when I did an opera competition in France that is called Marmande. It's near Bordeaux. And what I did basically, I didn't pass the second round, the first round, the eliminatories. And there was a jury of like 20 people, and I spoke to all of them, getting advices and getting, just what did you think? How can I improve? What do you recommend me? What do you think was good? What do you think was bad? What should I change? And I was lucky that it was a guy who named Cristian Mihailescu from Brașov Opera in Romania, who told me, I really like you. I'm actually the only one who voted for you, and I really like you. And I said, well, thank you, thank you, thank you. The guy said, oh, okay. So his phone was ringing. He said, look, listen, sorry, I gotta go, but listen, all the best to you. I said, thank you very much. So I'm about to leave and go to the train station to go back to Paris. And the guy runs after me and said, look, I'm doing next week a production of Carmen, and the guy who is supposed to do Escamillo, which is the part of the Toreador, the Torero, he lost his mother. He cannot do it. So you told me you did it, and I like you. Are you willing to go to Romania and to perform it? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. And here I was going there, never performed, with an opera stage, with the costumes, with the conductor, with all this stuff and new role, like I have no idea how I went through, but something really happened that night where I felt, okay, that's what I need to do. And even tell you the truth, as I was rehearsing it, I was like, you know what, that's not for me. I'm not going to continue in this. I remember even making the phone call to a friend who was working in the finance industry to tell him, look, man, I'm going to stop what I'm doing. I mean, I was 25 years old, I'm going to stop. This is not for me. Okay, I tried it. Now I'm going to go back and work in finance. People told me I'm very good in that. So I'm going to do that. Yeah, sure. When you come back Sunday night, okay, come to see me Monday. Okay, no problem.
So wait a minute. Why did you decide that that wasn't for you?
Because first of all, I realized how much I sucked at the job, while I was rehearsing it. But that's also because I was not equipped yet technically. I didn't have the experience. And most importantly, I didn't know the role at all, like I learned it. Now I know how to be like, boom, like this. When I go to an audition, I read the script once and I can do it. So I felt there was something. Of course, there was a lot of work. It was far from being good, but you could tell the desire of the guy, the courage of the guy. And the more I grew up, the more I realized, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. That was so inconscient almost. Even after performing for 20 years, you will still meet people who will tell you, keep your day job, So there's never something for granted in this profession. And even when you have experience, now I really feel when I'm on stage, I feel in me these 15 years. I feel this experience, I feel that I had to captivate the audience.
I really think you said something very important when at the time, you just did it or you didn't know any better, right? And I think that a lot of people just starting out performing or trying to get into another field is that fear holds them back. And this goes to show like you have to push through that to really get that experience and then become successful. And then you can kind of look back on it like you did now and say like, what was I thinking? What was I doing? But that experience is really what made you be who you are today. And so for the people out there that are kind of scared of trying, go ahead, push through that because it's going to get a lot easier. What I would like to know now from you is, so you were starting to get more shows, people were starting to hire you more. How did you then kind of transition into becoming a producer, and why did you want to make that transition? Because it's really a lot of work producing shows.
You have no idea before I'm on stage to convince you on something. I had to convince 1 million people before. Like I had to convince the owner of the theater to let me go and do the show. I had to convince actors to come and join the project. So actually the show is the easiest thing at the end, because all you have to do is press the play button. What I mean by that is you engaging what you have prepared before, So, and also I had no other choice in my life, in the sense that it was not for me, oh, I'm going to try and see how it goes. No, that was what I wanted to do. There was no questioning about that. When I said before, like about, oh, I'm going to work in finance, maybe that was my thought at the beginning, but I knew I would give it another chance. And every day is a new chance. Every day you're like, maybe I'm not done for that. Maybe I was just lucky. Never do things tomorrow that you can do today. why the transition? It's like, yeah, the extension of stuff. And I definitely love to work with people, and I definitely love to make the phone calls, and I always had that thing, which is the only gift that I had, which is that I've always been very organized. You know, like I write things down, I organize. I say, okay, why I do this? You know, I can do that. Why them taking a decision for this? I'm not going to wait that they tell me an answer, because maybe they're going to tell me a no, and I would have waited all of that for nothing. What they're waiting, I'm going to do something else, and same story. So this kind of good organization, and also the fact that mentally I am very strong. These are somehow the qualities to be not necessarily a good producer, but to be at least a producer, is also to carry the souls of people, and accept, to be willing to take responsibilities when something is not working. And and also, you know, to be able to handle stress. You know, like you have no idea. Like it happened once that was in Europe, where, you know, I was starting to produce my first show, and the theater said, well, David, if by it's noon, if at 4 p.m. I don't have at least 100 tickets sold, and we sold 60, I do not open the theater tonight, because I have to pay for the technicians, for that and that and that, and this won't cover my cost. So, but dude, it's not even in the contract that you need at least 100 people. I say, yeah, but I'm not opening, you know. So that was like 10, 15 years ago. Now, of course, no theater would do that. Besides the stress, the regular stress as a performer, because I'm performing in my productions, plus the regular stress of a producer, I was like, my God, I have to keep the show. So here am I calling friends and say, okay, that was before PayPal, you know, so taking my car and going to them, giving them a check, and here they were calling the box office to buy 20 tickets, and another one buying 20 tickets. And I arrive at the theater at 5 p.m. The actors arrive at, let's say, 6:30, 7 p.m. for the show at 8 p.m. They have no idea what I've been through before. You know, they have no idea that I have the feeling that I performed already 3 times already, you know, that I almost had an accident while driving quickly, you know, before 4 p.m. That's the kind of stuff that you have to be willing to take. And this is not for everybody, you know. This is definitely not for everybody. Everybody can perform. Everybody can go on stage. If you can talk, you can perform. You know, if you can live, which is so far the case of every human being, then you can perform, because performing, it's about living in front of others, you know. But producing, it's another thing. It's definitely a craft. And also, as you can improve to be a better performer, you improving as being a better producer. I thought, you know, producer, there is only one thing. It's only one way, one level. It's not true. I learned really that you can become a better producer the way you're handling stress, the way you handling if there is a feud between 2 actors.
You've talked about the struggles that it is to be a producer and some of the difficulties involved, and how that helps you, you know, learn how to manage people and just make yourself a better performer too, because you get to see all the behind of the scenes that are happening. What are the benefits that you receive from producing your own shows?
Well, first of all, it's a human experience that is amazing. You know, when you are producing your own shows and you are bringing people. Second, I believe in a way that when you're writing checks, you, by example, the costumes, when it's with your money that you pay these costumes, trust me, you fold them very delicately. This is why the power of motivation also is very important. And that's one of the things that as a performer, I realized. Now, when I'm hired as a performer, I know what to say to make the other guy feel good, you know, because I'm a producer. Like, I know that sometimes the guy feel lonely, you know, and I stay with the producer at the end, with the director. I said, it was very good. I'm very happy to work with you. Thank you for having me. You did fantastic job, and you put it on the writing. It's things like that. And I supported many directors and producers. The entertainment business is the Sahara, okay, and you are a piece of sand. So when you are lucky to get picked up, whether or not you're a good piece of sand, you are grateful, and the least you can do is be good to your colleagues, do your best, know your lines, be on time. There's a phrase I always says that you don't go to McDonald's to eat sushi. So if people come to see me, if people come to see my show, I want them to see what they cannot see anywhere. So these are the things that also as a performer I learned, because I'm on stage and I'm not just performing, but I'm also analyzing what I'm doing. I'm also analyzing the audience reaction. Being a producer made me a better performer, and being a performer made me a better producer for so many reasons.
Switch gears here because we have been talking about a lot of the theater aspect of performance, but you've been on a lot of TV shows recently, on Discovery, on the Travel Channel, and I'm curious, how do you go about making that transition and get those jobs? Is it primarily that you're just going to tons of castings, or do you have an agent that helps you get those gigs? Can you just let us know kind of the steps that you've taken to get more TV time, and then what that's done for your career?
Well, first of all, for me, it's the same profession. For me, it's the same job, whether I'm producing, whether I'm performing an opera, performing a musical, performing a straight theater play, performing a comedy act, or doing an opera concert, and doing a movie, doing a TV. It's exactly the same profession, which is to perform. Everybody have kind of their own recipe of success. As you said on your first great question, what's your definition of success? But I believe everybody have their own recipe of success. And I believe my recipe is working with people on the long term. Like, I'm going to be here forever. I'm not planning to quit or to go anywhere anytime soon. I'm going to be there forever. I have a client who owns a restaurant near Times Square, and he hired me first. He said, "David, I need your help to bring more people at the restaurant." So I'm like, okay. So I go there, and I meet him after 2 days. I said, "Man, all your life you're going to need to spend money in advertising. Why?" Because I went to your restaurant to have a lunch. I had to wait 20 minutes before the waitress asked me what I wanted to eat, brought me the menu. The bread was burned. You guys brought me the check in the book. There was not even the check in it. You brought me an empty book. I mean, then it means all you have to do is fix this. And then the clients will be so happy that they will come back. So you don't need any advertising. So what I'm trying to say here is that do your job well. And this is why being a European, being a French man, helps me a lot, is that I love American people. They are so smart. They are so intelligent. They think too much about the next thing, the next one. Let's get more clients, more work, more, you know what I mean? Like the future, let's get more. If we do that, we're going to get more of these. But what about the actual clients who are now in the restaurant? Why don't you take care of these guys first? You know what I mean? Like, you are not sure of your future, but you are sure of your present, and you're sure of your past. You know what I mean? So if you have clients in the restaurant, go to them. Say, instead of spending $100, or let's say, I don't know, like $10,000 in advertising, spend $2 to offer a glass of champagne to one of your clients. It's going to make them feel good.
Running short on time, but I do have a few more questions here.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm such a passionate of your. Sorry, I interrupted you, but I'm such a passionate of your question and of your show that I tend to be a little bit on the long side. Sorry about that.
And I really love all of the stories that you are telling and how you're connecting those to the entertainment industry, because I think these stories really help us connect and make sense of what you're saying. So thank you for giving us those as well. I guess some of my last questions are, looking throughout your career and just trying to figure out, what do you think one of your biggest mistakes was when you say, oh, I wish I would have done this differently?
Well, they always, I always think about two things. The first one is maybe that I went to sing for important people too early in my career when I was not ready, when I was bad singer and so inexperienced. I needed also to experience the failure. I can guarantee you, William, that all the biggest people who have succeeded are the ones who have failed the most. I can guarantee you, and I'm not afraid of failure. I'm not, because I would be the most stupid guy if I would fail, but I'm the smartest guy because I fail and I learn from it. There's not such thing as luck. I don't believe in it. Today we have something like YouTube. You don't need to be lucky to upload a video of yourself. On SoundCloud, you don't need to be lucky to upload an MP3 of your song.
One of the biggest lessons that I've learned is when you said that luck just doesn't happen and that you are in the driver's seat to create that opportunity. And I think that's just like a fantastic take home piece of advice for people, that you are the one that create the opportunities. And if you wouldn't have gone and talked to those judges and you wouldn't have tried to get their opinions and make friends with them, you wouldn't have created that opportunity for yourself when everyone else just went home, right? And so I think it's moments like this that are really defining in your life, but it's only happened because you went and took chances and you pushed harder than everybody else to get to where you are. And so I think that's just a fantastic lesson. Two more questions here and then we'll wrap it up.
Sure.
The first one is, if you were to start over right now, what would you do for the next maybe 6 months, let's say, that you would think that would really help you in your career to get going and get started?
There's not much that I would have redone now. If I would have done things differently 15 years ago than now, yes, of course. Because first of all, you have emails, you have YouTubes, you have social media, you have a video camera on your phone, you have an agenda on your phone, you have text messages, you have things that you don't necessarily had 20 years ago, which you had, but not like it is today. So yes, this is why you can see today things succeeding, things happening a certain way that it wouldn't have happened before. Like 20 years ago, when you were looking at Backstage, you had to wait every Wednesday the newspaper to come out, and check the casting notice, and then go in the night after you were working in the restaurant to put your headshot in the envelope and put a stamp, and you were thinking, well, look, does it really worth that I send a headshot? The fact that I have 20 years of experience now, 20 plus years, makes me approach things different than when I would have started. That's 100% sure.
And I think some of that we're selling the video and trying to make money in other ways. I think you talked a lot about that on our podcast episode that you did. So if you're interested in kind of the past, present, and future marketing strategy that David uses to try to make more money from the things that he's doing, go back and take a listen to that episode. David, the last question here. What advice do you have for people that are trying to make a living with whatever their art is and do this full time?
Well, in the entertainment industry, the good thing nowadays is that we have all these tools, which we didn't have much at that time. So we have social media, which means you don't need to purchase advertising in a newspaper. you know, in the old days, I was going with flyers, with posters, and go door by door to see if I can put their posters. So that really also, I would say, build your craft when you have first to convince the deli if you can put their posters. At some point when I was 24, 25, I couldn't get any work, you know, and I thought at some point that it was a matter of opportunities, that people had, you know, bad stuff on their ears, that they wouldn't see my talent, whatever. And once I read an interview of a guy who said, I don't know any good opera singer that is not working because there are so few good opera singers. So there I understood that because I was not hired, is because I sucked at the job, you know. So then I went to see the best teacher to make myself better. And then, man, I started to be hired everywhere, you know, as a singer. So that is the first thing, is work on your craft. Don't go necessarily to do this one-on-one with castings and stuff. Learn your craft. Like every day, take a monologue and work on it. You know, film yourself. You know, now we have these tools that you can film yourself and see, okay, that's good, that's not good, you know, and good to apply for everything, like paid or not paid, student films, because these guys are the next future.
David, I want to say that this has been very inspiring for me, just listening to your success and how you were able to get to where you are today. How do we keep up with you and learn about what you're doing and find out more about your coaching?
Well, the best way is to follow me on Facebook, David Serero Opera, or my personal David Serero, and check out my website. And really, Facebook nowadays is like really the best way to see my next shows and my next performances. That's the best way. And you can reach out to me, or my email is davidsereroopera@gmail.com, which you can find on the contact page of my website. And yeah, I'm available for whoever wants me, whoever needs my help. I'm always the first guy to help around.
David, once again, thank you so much. I'm really excited to have you here on the summit. Hopefully people watching this have really learned a lot from this. I know I really have. So until next time, we'll hopefully see you again shortly.
It will be my honor. And thank you, William, for everything you're doing. You're a fantastic person. And thank you for choosing me. It's really an honor being today interviewed by you and on your wonderful show. And you can call me anytime. It will always be an honor being around you.
Thanks so much, David. We'll catch you guys watching this right now in the next video, so stay tuned for that.